In the first half of the year, more than 4,000 flight attendants had to deal with badly behaving passengers. That's all according to the Association of Flight Attendants. So let's bring in Taylor Garland, spokeswoman for the AFA, and our very own Adriana Belmonte. So Taylor, let's just start with these figures. Are they because, passengers right now are refusing to wear masks, or is there something else that's happening here?
So masks are certainly a part of it. It sets up a situation where flight attendants have to interact with passengers, but it's not just masks, it's alcohol and it's routine safety reminders. Some of the worst offenders have been started when a flight attendant reminded a passenger to fasten their seatbelt for landing or pull up their tray table. So masks are certainly part of the story, but they're not all of it.
So I'm just curious, you mentioned alcohol has been a big issue this year. Has anything changed exactly? I mean, obviously aside there's a pandemic, but I don't know, how much of an effect does that have on people's consumption of alcohol on a plane?
Well, alcohol was always a big issue for us with unruly passengers, even before the pandemic. And one issue that we've identified since the pandemic is the invention or broad usage of to-go cocktails in airports. Restaurants and things like that made different plans when people were trying to minimize or maximize social distancing. And so cocktails are much more easy to get and people can take them around the airport. So that's what we're seeing. The other thing is a lot of people are coming back to the skies and this is their first time flying or taking a trip in over 15 months. And it's a party atmosphere. And that has also led to an increase in the alcohol consumption.
So we've been seeing these variants just getting worse and worse, cases going up as well, and it seems like a lot of states are re-implementing their mask mandates. And I'm assuming that means that the rules will stay the same on the plane as well. So do you think that's going to, make things worse, essentially?
Well, one of the issues we've had always on board over the last 6-7 months is that the mask mandates, depending on what state you're from or locality, are different than what they are on the plane. Right now, there's a federal mask mandate in place through September 13th. And with the CDC's announcements this week, it's likely, though we don't know, it's likely that they will extend that on transit. It's not just airlines, it's also buses and metros, things like that. So hopefully this actually leads to more consistent communication because passengers will have to wear their masks in their grocery stores and around their normal town, as well as the airport and the airplane.
So I know that the FAA has begun implementing really severe fines for people who are unruly on the plane. Are there any other solutions that could potentially reduce these incidences?
So one thing we have been very encouraged by what the FAA has doing. FAA Administrator Dixon instituted a zero tolerance policy on January 13th, and that has been extremely helpful in getting fines quicker to people who act up on board. What we're also imploring with these results is for the DOJ to take action. The DOJ has the authority of the Department of Justice to criminally prosecute some of these worst offenders. And so we're really hoping that they take these issues up because there should be consequences when you act up on board, especially in a physical nature, which we saw in the survey. 17% of those responding said they experienced some type of unruly incident of a physical nature.
I'm a little bit confused, Taylor, because I already thought that assaulting a flight attendant or any crew member really could result in a felony conviction. I thought it was a violation of federal law. So are those laws, perhaps, are those folks not being really prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law? Or do you think that perhaps some of those laws need to be rewritten to be even stricter, or perhaps give out even harsher punishments?
So we believe that the laws are in place to prosecute the people who commit these horrible offenses on board. What we're asking the DOJ is to really take these cases up quicker and make clear to the flying public that there are going to be consequences on the ground. Justice can be slow sometimes, but the issue is so severe that we're really imploring the Department of Justice to get on it.
So taking a look at FAA data, seeing the number of unruly passengers, how it's hit an all-time high, I'm just curious. I mean, obviously there's never been anything to this extent before, but have there ever been any other times in history where passengers seemed a little bit more difficult than usual?
So air rage is not a new thing. It's the worst it's ever been for sure. But our union started working on this issue really in the 90s. And that's when the FAA fines, or the civil fines, came about actually initially. And over the last 20 years, from early 2000s, we've increased those fines and also the criminal penalties that are in place. So we actually just upped the fines to $35,000 in the FAA reauthorization bill in 2018.
All right, we're going to have to leave that there. Hopefully, Taylor, the second half of the year is going to be a lot better than the first. And for everyone watching, please, flight attendants have so much to deal with. You being unruly on board the plane is the last thing that they want to have to deal with or worry about. Taylor Garland, spokeswoman for the AFA, Adriana Belmonte, thank you both for joining us.